Chemotherapeutic agents in periodontal treatment. Objectives of the lecture are the following: evaluate the rationale for use of anti-infective agents as adjuncts to periodontal therapy, list the clinical indications for use of anti-infective agents, evaluate the pharmacology of anti-infective agents indicated as adjuncts to periodontal therapy. Okay? We have already established that our mouth has several bacteria, okay? And that the normal flora of the oral cavity does not cause the periodontal disease. Okay? During the early development of plaque, there are gram-positive facultative aerobic bacteria present, as well as the gram-negative anaerobic bacteria. Okay? So this is in the early stages of plaque formation. Okay? It's just that during the early stages of plaque formation, it is the gram-positive facultative aerobic bacteria that are predominant. Okay? And as the plaque matures, pag nag-mature na yung plaque, maturation of plaque, there would be a shift in the predominant bacteria. Okay? The gram-negative anaerobic bacteria would now predominate. Dadami na si gram-negative anaerobic bacteria, and there would be a decrease in the number of gram-positive aerobic bacteria. These gram-negative anaerobic bacteria are the ones that can cause the periodontal disease, okay? Especially your gingivitis and periodontitis. We have also defined last time that plaque is a soft adherent tenacious mass of deposit in an organized matrix, okay? And they would play a role, an important role, in the progression of the periodontal disease. It starts 30 minutes, the pellicle formation would start 30 minutes after brushing. Then there would be the initial colonizers. The initial colonizers are the gram-positive, a facultative, aerobic bacteria. Okay, and as plaque would mature, okay, there would be an initial lesion, meaning to say there would be some signs of inflammation already, which can lead to um, tissue destruction later on. The areas that would contribute to plaque growth are your interdental spaces. That's why we need to floss, di ba? Kailangan natin mag-floss. And also, the areas beneath the margins, especially those crowns with an ill-fitting margins. Overhanging dental restorations would also contribute to plaque growth. They would cause plaque retention on the area. Okay, and we have also discussed last time that the most common predisposing factor is the calcular deposit because of the nature of your calcular deposit, which is calcified, rough, and porous. Okay, it is porous, then it becomes a niche for plaque adhesion or plaque accumulation. An infection can be managed through mechanical means and chemotherapeutic means. When we say mechanical means, this is through daily disruption of plaque through toothbrushing. Chemotherapeutic means you are using oral rinses, mouthwashes. Okay. First, let's differentiate infection from inflammation. I'm sure you're already familiar with the five cardinal signs of inflammation. Diba? You have your rubor, you have your dolor, you have your calor, you have your tumor, and functio lesa. Okay? Inflammation is the body's protective response against infection. So again, inflammation is the body's protective response against inflammation. While when you say infection, It refers to the invasion and multiplication of bacteria or viruses within the body. So again, infection refers to the invasion and multiplication of bacteria or viruses within the body. The areas that are accessible to cleaning are manageable, so you can remove them through toothbrushing. However, when the plaque goes subgingivally or on the subgingival area, um, the access becomes less limited. Hence, there's a need for you to use antiseptics and antimicrobial. Okay, so again, mechanical means through toothbrushing, okay, and antiseptics through antimicrobial agents, mouthwashes. Okay, you have to know or you have to keep in mind that these oral rinses would only serve as an adjunct. Okay, it serves only as an adjunct and not a substitute. You cannot choose between the two. Hindi pwedeng, okay, I'll just use mouthwash. I won't brush my teeth. I'll just use the mouthwash. Because you are not removing the plaque. You are just lessening the amount of bacteria there. Okay? Let's say, for example, this is the tooth. This is the bone, gingiva. There's this plaque here. If you use your oral rinses or mouthwashes, what would happen? It would lessen the bacteria. Okay, it would be able to clean some of the bacteria. There's a decrease in number of the bacteria. However, the matrix is still there. Okay, and what would happen when plaque would calcify, would harden? It would now become calcular deposit, diba? And we know that calcular deposit provides a niche for plaque accumulation. Plaque would be able to easily attach or adhere on the area. That's why there's really a need for you to disrupt the plaque formation daily. Again, toothbrushing is still the primary mode of the debridement. Okay? There are different approaches of chemical plaque control. You have your anti-adhesives, you have your antimicrobial agents, you have your plaque removal agents, and you have your anti-pathogenic agents. Let's first discuss the anti-adhesives here. So anti-adhesives, examples are your amine alcohol and delmopinol. So these prove to be incompatible to the tissue. Hindi sila compatible. Okay, what do? They would prevent pellicle from adhering to the tooth surface. Kasi nga, di ba, we have discussed last time that the tooth is negatively charged, the bacteria is negatively charged, and once the pellicle forms 30 minutes after brushing, bacteria will now be able to attach or adhere to the tooth surface. However, we still need the pellicle. We cannot remove the pellicle because the pellicle would prevent the tooth from desiccation. That's why pellicle has an important role in our oral cavity. So examples of your antimicrobial agents are your chlorhexidine, triclosan, and eucalyptus. Okay, they work by reducing the number of bacteria, as I have mentioned earlier. Okay, the purpose is only to kill the bacteria. Therefore, no coagulation and plaque maturation will occur. However, the matrix will still remain there. It would calcify and later on become calcular deposit. Okay, so Orahex is the most commonly used antimicrobial agents for perio. We usually prescribe that one, specifically the Orahex Forte with zinc. Okay, you also have some mouthwashes like your Colgate plaques. Okay, so plaque removal agent, it removes plaque through mechanical action of rinsing. However, since plaque is very adherent, it is very tenacious, you won't be able to remove all the plaque through rinsing. You still need the mechanical debridement, okay, or disturbance through mechanical means. We have also anti-pathogenic agents. Okay, so an example is tetracycline and the other antibiotics. So now we are talking about antibiotics. So tetracycline and other antibiotics would produce bacteriostatic effect. Later on, we will be differentiating bacteriostatic from bactericidal. There are antibiotics that are bacteriostatic, and there are also antibiotics that are bactericidal in nature. Okay. So vehicles for chemical agents, we have toothpaste. So you can incorporate some essential oils like eucalyptus on the toothpaste because that would serve as a vehicles to reach the area. Okay. Mouth rinses would contain chlorhexidine. So spray, irrigators, chewing gum, and varnish. Okay. So keep in mind that antibiotics have to come in contact with bacteria in a particular period of time and in proper concentration to take effect. This is very important. Antibiotics have to come in contact with the bacteria in a particular period of time and proper concentration. There are some dentists who would perform, let's say these are the teeth, okay? You have your bone here. Oops, you have your bone, okay? And you have your gingiva here. You have your gingiva. Some dentists would use tetracycline, would open up a tetracycline capsule. They would mix it with NSS, and they would use it to irrigate the pocket. They use it as an irrigant. However, this is not effective because NSS is too watery, masyadong malabnaw. So when you use it as an irrigant, what would happen to the tetracycline? Will it be able to stay on the area? No, di ba? So according to this statement, needs to come in contact with bacteria in a particular period of time. You need to make sure that the antibiotics would stay there for a certain period of time with the correct amount of concentration. In this case, dentists would dilute further the tetracycline, making it less effective. So do not use that. Okay. So chemical plaque control agents. You have your bacteria. It develops resistance from antibiotics. That's why we don't uh, prescribe antibiotics all the time. We need to choose our patients carefully, diba? We need to evaluate our patients carefully if there's really a need for antibiotic administration or not. So you have your enzymes, bisguanide, quaternary ammonium compounds, and phenols, as well as essential oils. Okay. There's also this fluoride, metal salt, oxygenating agents, detergents, and amine alcohol. So how can antimicrobial work? Again, they must be used in adequate concentration. And also, as I have mentioned earlier, they should come into contact with microorganism and stay there until it takes into effect. Okay? Of course, the effect is always questionable. So I mentioned earlier chlorhexidine, specifically Orhex Forte with zinc. This is the one. Okay? So this is a commonly used agent in perio cases. And there are three forms. You have your digluconate for oral rinse. You have your acetate, which is not used. Hydrochloride salt, which is also not used. Okay. Chlorhexidine is used in 0.2%, 0.12%, and 0.06% by volume. Okay. The most popular and must be prescribed by dentists for use is the 0.12%. Okay. And the one that is recommended by the BFAD for daily use or Bureau of Food and Drugs is the 0.06%. You need to remember these two concentration. Okay, you have to memorize that one. 0.12%, the one that must be prescribed by dentist, and the 0.06% is the one that can be used for daily use. You cannot use 0.12% for daily use kasi it would have side effects. It can affect your taste. It can promote calcular deposit formation. So Orohex Forte, or this one, 12.12%, is usually given in a 14-day regimen. 2 weeks lang. Okay, patient, use this oral rinse for 2 weeks, twice a day. Okay, every 12 hours bali. And when you use that, you should not dilute. Dapat full concentration. Okay, mechanism of action, it binds strongly to bacterial cell membrane. Okay, at low concentration shows increased permeability to cell membrane. At high concentration causes precipitation of bacterial cytoplasm, leading to death. So low concentration, increased permeability. High concentration, precipitation of bacterial cytoplasm, leading to death. Again, it absorbs to surface, including pellicle, with bacteriostatic effect lasting for 12 hours. That's why I mentioned earlier, we use this, excuse me, at full concentration, twice daily or every 12 hours. Okay? Prolonged use of chlorhexidine would have some side effects. Okay? We have first discoloration of teeth, tongue, and some restorations. It can cause discoloration of the teeth. So taste perturbation, or it affects the taste perception. Oral mucosa erosion, parotid swelling, which is rare, and enhanced supragingival calculus formation. Okay, and number 1 and 5 are the most common side effects of chlorhexidine. So discoloration of teeth and um, calculus formation. So clinical uses of chlorhexidine. First, it is an adjunct to oral hygiene and professional oral prophylaxis, post-surgical rinse, patient with jaw fixation, and oral hygiene for mentally and physically handicapped. Okay, so for the first one, adjunct to oral hygiene and professional oral prophylaxis, especially if the patient cannot brush well due to poor dexterity. Okay, if the patient has severe gingival swelling or pain, it's an adjunct to inadequacy of mechanical means. You cannot brush your teeth properly, okay, because of certain reason, you can prescribe chlorhexidine. Again, it's only an adjunct. Okay. Next, post-surgical rinse. Fresh post-surgical wound should not be disturbed by mechanical means, di ba? Bagong exo ka lang, you just had your tooth extracted. So since you cannot brush the area properly, you can prescribe chlorhexidine to the patient. Okay. Jaw fixation, you had your mouth wired shut, di ba? Because of, let's say, fracture. That's why you underwent interdental wiring and maxillomandibular fixation. We would be discussing this in surgery. Okay? So, naka-wire yung mouth mo and you cannot open properly. So, in effect, you won't be able to brush properly also. That's why you can prescribe sa patient chlorhexidine also. Okay? Medically compromised patients. So patients with HIV/AIDS, okay, those undergoing chemotherapy, patients predisposed to oral infection because they have compromised immune response. High-risk patients can also be prescribed chlorhexidine, recurrent oral ulcerations, patients with ortho appliance, denture stomatitis, pre-surgical rinse, and subgingival irrigation. So there's a lot of clinical uses for chlorhexidine. But take note of the concentration. Diba? Sabi natin earlier, we have concentration that is only prescribed by dentists and it is only used for a maximum of 14 days. And we also have a concentration for daily use as recommended by the Bureau of Food and Drug, or BFAD. The primary means of controlling plaque is through toothbrushing. So ulit-ulit tayo dito, di ba? Mechanical means. The most common method of primary plaque control is, of course, mechanical method. Oral rinses are only used as adjuncts to the said method. So the following are the types of periodontal diseases with unfavorable response to conventional treatment. We have here juvenile periodontitis, we have prepubertal periodontitis, we have rapidly progressing periodontitis, and refractory periodontitis. Collectively, these are classified as early onset periodontitis. Okay, oh, sorry. Collectively, they are classified as aggressive periodontitis. Aggressive periodontitis. And in 1999 classification of perio, sabi natin if your diagnosis is aggressive periodontitis, then there's a need for you to prescribe antibiotics as opposed to chronic perio, which does not need antibiotic prescription unless your patient is immunocompromised or has comorbidities. Okay? So reasons for the unfavorable response. There are defects in the immune response, incomplete debridement. You were not able to remove all the debris on the pocket fully, and also regrowth of putative pathogen. Okay, so if the patient has defect in the immune response, again, we can prescribe antibiotic. So antibiotic therapy. So talking about antibiotics, the aim of antibiotic is to decrease the number of bacteria in the periodontal pocket. Again, it's only an adjunct, okay? You still need to do mechanical debridement during the phase 1 therapy. Phase 1 therapy is the cause-related phase or the, still remember, cause-related phase or the initial therapy. Diba sabi natin last time there are four phases of periodontal therapy and phase 1 is cause-related phase or initial therapy. So please review the different phases of periodontal therapy. So antibiotics can be given systemically or locally. Okay, so we have systemic anti-infective therapy and local anti-infective therapy. When you say systemic, oral medication, oral antibiotics, iinamin mo yung gamot. Well, when you say local anti-infective therapy, you are placing the anti-infective agents directly into the periodontal pocket. So you are applying the antibiotic directly on the periodontal pocket. If this is the, let's see, that's the tooth, okay, this is the bone, the gingiva. You are putting the antibiotics here in the pocket directly. So later on, I'll show you the different, ang tawag dito, the different antibiotics that you can place on the pocket, okay? And the different preparations also. So look at this table. This is the recommended antibiotics for use in antibiotic therapy. Okay? We have amoxicillin, azithromycin, we have ciprofloxacin, we have clindamycin, doxycycline or minocycline, and metronidazole. Okay? Ideal antibiotic for use in the prevention and treatment of periodontal disease should be specific for periodontal pathogen. Sabi nila, okay? So for us to have an ideal antibiotic that is specific for periodontal disease, we need to be able to specifically identify the pathogens and we should be able to kill them exclusively. However, since periodontal disease is caused by several bacteria, the ideal antibiotic for treatment of periodontal disease does not exist. You cannot just use one antibiotic. Okay, this antibiotic can kill all the bacteria that causes periodontitis. There's no such thing because periodontitis is caused by several types of bacteria. Okay? That's why combination of antibiotics may be necessary to eliminate all the putative pathogens for some periodontal pockets. That's why sometimes we need to combine antibiotics. Most commonly combined antibiotic is the amoxicillin and the metronidazole. Silang dalawa yung kino-combine. Okay? Earlier, I have mentioned bacteriostatic and bactericidal. When you say bacteriostatic, it only stops the growth of bacteria. It stops the bacteria from multiplying. So stops the growth of bacteria. Okay? While when you say bactericidal, suffix is cidal. Okay? So when you say bactericidal, it kills the bacteria or the microorganisms. Okay? So Doc, you mentioned in bacteriostatic, they're only stopping the growth of bacteria. The bacteria remains alive. Diba? Paano nangyayari na they are killed? How will they be able to die? Diba? How can you kill those bacteria? So it is the role of the immune system of the patient. The immune system of the patient will now be the one to kill those bacteria. Okay? That's how bacteriostatic antibiotics work. Amoxicillin is bactericidal. Azithromycin is bacteriostatic. Ciprofloxacin is also bactericidal. Okay? Clindamycin is bacteriostatic. Okay? But in higher concentration, it becomes bactericidal. Pag mas mataas yung concentration, it now becomes bactericidal. Doxycycline or minocycline are bacteriostatic. And metronidazole is bactericidal. So look here, amoxicillin and metronidazole are both bactericidal. Diba? Sabi natin earlier, they are the two antibiotics that are commonly used in combination for periodontal treatment. Okay? You need to memorize that. Amoxicillin, cidal, azithromycin, mycin, static, and so on and so forth. Okay? You also need to memorize the regimen. You also have to memorize the dosage and the duration. Okay? Again, memorize if it's bactericidal, static. Okay? Memorize the regimen. Memorize also the dosage or duration. We've mentioned combination antibiotics earlier. We also mentioned that most of the time it's amoxicillin and metronidazole are the ones that are used in combination. If you use amoxicillin and metronidazole in combination, you're only supposed to use or to prescribe 250 milligrams. Let's go back to the table. In this table, it says here 500 milligrams, 500 milligrams. If stand alone, if you would be prescribing them solely. But if you're going to prescribe them as combination drug, then you're only to prescribe 250 milligrams. 3 times a day or TID for 8 days. Okay? If your patient is allergic to amoxicillin, you can use or you can prescribe metronidazole and ciprofloxacin. Okay? You can also give this. And that is the dosage. Metronidazole, 500 milligrams, ciprofloxacin, 500 milligrams, only given twice daily for 8 days. Okay? Tetracycline. Sabi natin, doxycycline, minocycline are bacteriostatic. Okay? So, tetracycline, bacteriostatic. Pare-pareho lang yan. Look at the suffix. Doxycycline, minocycline, tetracycline. Okay? They belong to one family. Okay? Tetracycline would inhibit the collagenase formation. So remember that. Inhibits collagenase formation. Okay? And tetracycline is if given to children with developing teeth, what would happen? It can cause discoloration. But if you prescribe tetracycline to adult, it won't affect the teeth anymore. Kasi okay na yung tooth formation natin, finished na. Okay? So we have mentioned that under tetracycline, you have tetracycline hydrochloride, you have your doxycycline, cycline, okay? And you have your minocycline, minocycline, okay? Tetracycline hydrochloride is administered 250 milligrams QID or 4 times daily for 14 to 21 days. You need to memorize that also. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, 14 to 21 days, patient would be taking the medication for 2 to 3 weeks. Okay? Again, it can cause discoloration when administered to children up to 12 years old. Tetracycline hydrochloride is inexpensive. Mura lang siya. It's cheap. However, compliance is a problem. Okay? Patient compliance is a problem in terms of tetracycline um, antibiotics. Why? Because it is patient would need to take it 4 times a day for around 21 days. There might be some days that the patient won't be able to take the medication. Nasi-skip niya yung um, intake niya. Okay? Doxycycline is still under tetracycline. Okay? That's the dosage. Okay? You have the loading dose or the first dose, then the succeeding dose or yeah, subsequently. Okay? Just read this. Then we have minocycline. Okay? We have a condition known as phototoxicity. Phototoxicity. Remember this, when we say phototoxicity, it is a condition in which the skin or eyes become very sensitive to sunlight or other forms of light. Memorize this, okay? The definition of phototoxicity. So tetracycline has the ability to chelate with calcium and therefore gets deposited in mineralized tissues, okay, such as the bone, the teeth, okay, during the mineralization process, resulting in a yellow to brown discoloration of the teeth. Nagdi-discolor yung ngipin. Okay? Let's now go to metronidazole. Metronidazole, as we have mentioned earlier, it is bactericidal. It kills the bacteria, di ba? Another antibiotic na bactericidal is amoxicillin. Okay? Metronidazole is the drug of choice for treating AA infections. Okay? So take note of the dosage. Okay? It inhibits warfarin metabolism. Okay? Inhibits warfarin metabolism. It is contraindicated for patients under anticoagulant therapy because it prolongs the prothrombin time. Okay? Another thing that you need to know about metronidazole is that it has a side effect, and the side effect is called an antabuse. antabuse effect. What do you mean by antabuse effect? Okay, so it would exhibit antabuse effect if or when alcohol, okay, is ingested. Uminom si patient. Naglasing si patient while on medication. Okay, so what would happen? There would be severe cramps, nausea, vomiting. Okay, it is similar to what you've learned in pharma. Ano tawag dito? Disulfiram effect. Disulfiram. Okay, disulfiram is a type of medication or type of drug that are given to alcoholic patients. Alcoholic si patient, ayaw niya tumigil uminom, pe-prescribe siya ng disulfiram. Okay? So disulfiram causes unpleasant effects even when small amounts of alcohol are consumed. So it's similar to disulfiram, antabuse effect. Okay? So advise your patient na if they're on metronidazole, they cannot uh, drink alcoholic beverages. Next is the amoxicillin clavulanate potassium. Okay, commonly it is known as augmentin. Augmentin. Okay, or sometimes it is called as co-amoxiclav. Okay, pare-pareho lang yan. So this drug is a combination drug. It's a combination of amoxicillin and your clavulanate acid. Okay, amoxicillin and clavulanic acid. Okay, dosage for this is 625 milligrams. 500 milligrams for the amoxicillin and 125 milligrams for clavulanic acid. Kaya naging 625 milligrams. Okay? So why did they combine clavulanic acid to amoxicillin? Okay? Your clavulanic acid uh, is a beta-lactamase inhibitor. Beta-lactamase inhibitor. Okay? So it works by preventing the bacteria from destroying the amoxicillin. Okay, let's say this is your amoxicillin. Okay, this is your bacteria. Okay, so amox, this is your bacteria. You already know that amoxicillin is a penicillin type of drug, diba? Your bacteria would release penicillinase. Okay, it degrades the amoxicillin. Okay, again, penicillinase is released by your bacteria. And once it releases your penicillinase and hits the amoxicillin, it would be degraded. It won't be able to perform its function. That's why for severe swelling, they added clavulanic acid because your clavulanic acid serves as a shield. Okay, it protects your amoxicillin from being destroyed. Sabi ni clavulanic acid, okay, I'll shield you, I'll protect you, do your thing, kill that bacteria. Okay? You won't be harmed by the penicillinase because I'm protecting you. Clavulanic acid. Okay? Again, clavulanic acid is a beta-lactamase inhibitor. Coamoxiclav is given or prescribed for patients who has severe swelling. Ang laki ng inflammation. Ang laki ng pamamaga. Okay? There's severe swelling, you can prescribe this drug. Next is clindamycin. So what about clindamycin? If your patient is allergic to amoxicillin, you can prescribe clindamycin. This drug is effective in situation in which the patient is allergic to penicillin. Recommended dose is 300 milligrams BID for 8 days. Okay, 300 milligrams BID for 8 days, but we usually give this 300 milligrams QID for 7 days. Okay, that's the usual regimen that we give. Okay, ito na lang i-follow nyo para you won't be confused. 300 milligrams QID for 7 days. Okay, patients taking clindamycin would experience GI discomfort or gastrointestinal discomfort. Nag-LBM si patient. Okay? It is because of the disturbance in the GI's normal flora. You call this condition your pseudomembranous colitis. It is caused by your Clostridium difficile. So again, patients taking clindamycin would experience GI discomfort, and that condition is known as your pseudomembranous colitis caused by Clostridium difficile. That's why when we give clindamycin to the patient, we also prescribe probiotics. And an example of a probiotic is Yakult. You prescribe Yakult to the patient, okay? Or you ask the patient to take Yakult daily. Earlier, I've mentioned about the local delivery of antibiotics. Diba sabi natin, you put antibiotics directly on the pocket. So local delivery agents are available as adjuncts to scaling and root planing and as aids of growth of bacteria on barrier membranes. We have several types. First is the subgingival chlorhexidine. Okay, so it is also known as your perio chip. It's just a small chip. Okay, so this is biodegradable and it does not require removal. Okay, however, you need to make sure that it stays there for around 10 days. Dapat the perio chip would be able to stay there for around 10 days to take its effect. So para siyang gel like that, you know, you insert it in the pocket, okay, insert it there, and you leave it there. And make sure it would stay there for 10 days. Baka mamaya the patient's flossing natanggal during flossing. Okay? So you have to instruct your patients also. Next is your tetracycline containing fibers. Okay? So this is impregnated with tetracycline. These fibers are impregnated with tetracycline and you place it there inside. Okay? However, they are now no longer commercially available. Wala nang ganyan. Okay? Next is the subgingival doxycycline. Sabi natin, cycline na suffix is tetracycline. Okay? So, it is a gel system. So, gel siya. And you dispense on the pocket. Dispense mo sa pocket. Do not inject, ha? You just dispense dun sa pocket ng tooth. The only local delivery system accepted by the American Dental Association. Okay, that is your subgingival doxycycline. We also have subgingival minocycline. So this time around, it's minocycline from the same family, tetracycline then. You inject or you dispense, you dispense on the pocket. Okay. Then lastly, we have here the subgingival metronidazole. It is an oil-based metronidazole, 25% dental gel, okay? And you dispense on the pocket. That's why earlier I mentioned to you that opening a capsule of tetracycline and mixing it with NSS won't have an effect. You cannot use that as an irrigant. Okay? Wala siyang effect. It's better if you just use NSS or Chlorhex. Chlorhex na lang ang pang-irrigate mo instead of using tetracycline that has no effect. Kasi it's too fluid. It's not able to stay on the pocket. Okay? So advantage of systemic route. Again, systemic route is oral intake of antibiotic. Diba? Ininom ni patient yung antibiotic. Antibiotic in serum or in blood can reach the microorganism. It can eliminate the pathogens from the other sites also. Okay? And also longer therapeutic time. However, the disadvantages of systemic route is that there's an increased risk of adverse reaction. Magkaroon ng allergy si patient. Only a small portion of the total dose reaches the microorganisms kasi nga it is distributed throughout your body. Then, patient compliance. Patient might not take the medication on time. That's a disadvantage. What about for local antibiotic therapy? So advantages, it can accomplish 100-fold higher therapeutic dose in subgingival route. Patient compliance is not a problem, okay? And there's lesser risk for adverse reaction. While the disadvantages, you have technical problem like it takes time to administer. It's hard to insert it to the pocket. Now I'm having difficulty uh, placing the gel or the period chip on the pocket. Washing effects of gingival crevicular fluid, baka mamaya natanggal na siya. May not be able to reach the deepest microorganism. Okay? To sum up our lecture, periodontitis or periodontal disease is an infection. You have to know that. Okay? Antibiotics can't be used for prevention since bacteria in the normal flora can't be totally eradicated unless you take antibiotics daily. Okay? The overuse, misuse, and widespread prophylactic application of antimicrobial drugs are some of the factors that lead to emergence of resistant microorganisms. Dental plaque elimination and control is necessary. Disturbing the plaque on a daily basis will not give plaque a chance to mature. So kung hindi siya nag-mature, there will not be a shift in the environment. There won't be a shift from gram-positive aerobic to become gram-negative anaerobic microorganism. Okay? The patient response to treatment is evidenced by the elimination of signs and symptoms. In order to assess the treatment, employ the same parameters used in assessing gingivitis and periodontitis. Identify the cause of gingivitis and periodontitis. Okay? Sabi natin, the cause is plaque. Okay? Then, know when to use antibiotics, whether the patient is medically compromised or not. Use antibiotics only if aggressive type of periodontal disease, as I have mentioned earlier. Diba? Sabi natin, using the 1999 classification, you have chronic and aggressive periodontitis. And if your diagnosis is aggressive, even though the patient is not medically compromised, you still need to give antibiotics. And most of the time, it's a combination drug, amoxicillin, metronidazole. Okay? If your diagnosis is chronic and your patient is not medically compromised, patient is healthy, then there's no need for you to give antibiotics. Okay? However, if your patient is medically compromised, has HIV AIDS, then you need to give antibiotics. Okay? Antibiotic treatment. Okay? Do not use antibiotics if chronic periodontitis, unless, let me just emphasize, unless the patient is medically compromised. Okay? So it says here in this slide, success is not given, it is earned. So you have to work hard, okay? You need to work hard para you can succeed. And eventually you'll be able to get your license to practice dentistry. So that's all for this topic. If you have any clarifications, you can message me or you can approach me. Okay? Thank you.